I walk away with seriously a great satisfaction that this was the toughest thing I've ever been through. Mentally and physically, hands down, I can take it. I could take it through day 39. I could take it through day 69. It's a real test of fortitude and mental stability. And anyone who signs up for this, there's always a question in their mind whether they can hack it. And I know I can. And it's very comforting to know that. The one thing that has surprised me the most is that the lack of food didn't bother me that much. You know, I mean, it sounds a little silly, but in the real world, outside of the game, you have plenty of food, and you don't really think about it. You go a little hungry, you get, some hunger pains, and you go have a Snickers bar or something. And here, if you eat once or twice a day, very small portions, that's a luxury. And I didn't think that, I thought it would bother me a heck of a lot more. I thought my body would complain a lot more, and it didn't. It's just your body adjusts, your mind adjusts, and it's amazing the human body's ability to adapt to deprivation and hardship. It's truly amazing. What did bother me out here is the lack of food in my system that resulted in lack of energy, because typically I have a lot of energy. I like to do a lot of things, great work ethic, but when you don't have much food in your system, it's very difficult to pick yourself up and do those things. It takes twice as much effort, and that did bother me, to have to do all those things every day, and it took 2, 3 times the effort it would if I normally would have a fair amount of food in my system, so that did bother me. I would say being part of Survivor is being part of a close-knit group of friends who have the unfortunate accident of being in a plane crash on a deserted island and just fending for themselves, grouping together, forming a society. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, honestly, we jumped off that ship with nothing. And for 21 days, we provided for ourselves. I was going to compare it to a rugby team, a rugby season, some sporting event, but that doesn't even compare. I mean, the deprivations and hardships we experienced, the only thing I can compare it to is if we were shipwrecked or in a plane crash or crashed in the mountains and you have to live off the land and survive by your wits. It's the only thing I can compare it to. I think there are many similarities to the game versus real life. In life, you have curveballs all the time. You're blindsided all the time with difficult situations. And here, every day, something would crop up that would be very challenging, either physically or mentally or both. And you'd have to deal with it with very little sleep, very little food, and very little water. And you didn't have a choice. You have to deal with it. And the way that you deal with it on Survivor is the way you should deal with it in real life. You approach it head on, you analyze it, and you do whatever you can to properly address it. And I did it on Survivor as best I could, and it's the same thing, translates the same thing in life. Mental toughness in Survivor is the mental toughness you need in life when those inevitable difficult times come about. The reason I'm sitting here right now is because Lil was voted out the third person in our tribe, and she took that personally because as a strategy we chose Dara over Lil, and Dara was stronger in the water. End of story. Lil decided to go with the Drake tribe instead of sticking with the Morgan tribe because she knew that I was tighter with T, Dara, and Rhino than Lil, and that Lil would be the first one to go. So what would I do differently? I would probably, the only thing I would do differently is when Lil came back to the tribe to try to convince her that she was more part of the tribe. But that wouldn't even have worked because she could see that me, D, T, and Rhino were airtight. So Lil switching to the other side, nothing I could do about that. I changed my answer. I wouldn't change anything. Nothing I could do about her. I mean, she was going to do what she was going to do, and that was the swing vote. So unfortunately, it came my way, but that's part of life. You know, the only thing I would have done differently is figure out a better way to get food. The critical food being fish. Somehow figure out a better way to get fish. Because Rhino with his sling just wasn't working, not because of his lack of effort, it just wasn't working. So back in the early days when we did have energy, we should have focused more on getting fish and how to get fish, setting up traps or nets or whatever it took. And that's the only thing that I would have done differently. I have so much respect for the Morgan tribe members. What we went through compared to what Drake went through, is apples and oranges. Actually, it's not even apples and oranges. We went through hell. They were on Fantasy Island with all their food, and they were complaining about they're running out of lentils and red beans and rice, and they have 20 pounds of fish every day. It astounds me. They have no idea what we went through. And I just want to say to the Morgan tribe members, all of them, including Lil, cheers to them for what we went through and to even the score 5 tribe mates to 5 tribe mates, because that is a phenomenal accomplishment given what we were going through. When people bind together and pull each other closer and pull each other up by the bootstraps and set their minds to a particular goal and focus on it, regardless of what hardships they're experiencing, they can accomplish it despite overwhelming odds. When you've got a very strong Drake tribe, we've lost 3 immunity challenges in a row. We're not eating, we're barely sleeping, and we win the next 3. It just proves to me and to everyone that if you set your mind to something and you want it badly enough and you're willing to sacrifice everything and lay it all on the line, you can do it. And we proved it 3 times in a row. So again, cheers to Morgan. I couldn't be prouder of what we accomplished.